Pleasant good morning. Morning to everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Well, it's actually afternoon in Guyana where many people are viewing from. We have had the time change over the weekend. So the New York now is 1 hour behind Guyana. So good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Welcome to this episode, Monday's episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Welcome. I hope you had a wonderful weekend and that you're all set for a productive week. It's good. Sure, many of us would have had a relaxing weekend. Some of us would have had to work. Whatever you had to do, I hope you enjoyed it. So welcome to this episode, the Monday's episode. I noted when the program was scheduled, as is expected these days, many students were there very early, ready and eager to get into the classroom. So here we are once again to bring you the information that you so richly deserve to hear. And we have lots of issues to discuss this morning. Again, lots of issues to bring you up to date with. My colleague and co-host, co-defendant is already in the studio, ready and raring to go. I noted the numbers are mounting. I have a suspicion that many persons have not yet gotten accustomed to the Monday episode. So I again encourage you to subscribe to the channel on YouTube and to follow the page on that Speaking Out Exposing Corruption and Incompetence on Facebook. So you will get the notification whenever we go live. You will even get a notification when the program is scheduled. So yes, we are here this morning again. Blessed Monday morning to one and all. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. As I've said repeatedly, and we have come to understand by now, it is a privilege to be in the land of the living. So every morning that you wake up, you need to give praise and thanks to the Almighty for allowing us to see this new day. And we give praise and thanks for allowing us to see this day and to guide us as we move on and deal with this program. As I've said, roll call, we're going to do the roll call in a short while, and you will see the number of students who are here from very early in the morning. This program was scheduled this morning, 8 something, and almost immediately people started to pour in. So that has been a very encouraging factor for us, and that inspires us to continue to do the research and to come and to bring you the credible information. I note on this program, we have people from all over. Some of the places I remember, Paris is always here. Many places, United States, many of the states, people are represented, Canada, Antigua, Barbados, Trinidad, Jamaica. People from all over are on the program, and they make comments, and people encourage me and my co-hosts to continue because they say they have found this program to be very, very educational. Members of the force at all levels, well, not all, but many levels, senior and junior levels, have indicated how interested and how educational they have found this program. So we will continue. We will continue. People have even suggested issues that they want discussed. And once those issues come to attention, we do the research and we will try to educate you on those issues. So yes, we are here this morning once again, today, Monday, the 6th day of November 2023 for this episode. Well, let me run the roll call. As I've said, we have lots of stuff to discuss this morning. So I'm going to run the roll call very, very quickly. And roll call is a must. Roll call is a must. We must know those who are in class, and therefore the roll call is a must. And the person who regained the number 1 position this morning is Vibert. Vibert regained his position. Vernon was in shortly. As a matter of fact, they came into class at the same time. Derek, and that is 8:24. They came in. Derek came in shortly after. Joan is here. Eric from New Jersey is here. Barlett from Linden is here. Everett from Texas is here. Princess from Lamar Springs. Tessa from Florida, I think Tessa is from. Kenneth say he is from Maryland, he's here. Carville my squad mate is here. John is here in class. Ruth, Pauline is in class as well. Evanlina is here. Jaco from Georgia is here. Denise is in class. Magnell is in class. Earl, Ian says 8152, and I know Ian says from Queens, New York. Doreen, my squad mate, she's from Canada, is in class. Patricia is here. Leslie, I know he's somewhere in the States, he's here as well. Machu is in class very early this morning as well. Paul is in Canada and he's in class. Gordon is from Canada, he is in class. Patricia, she's in the US. Danielle is in class, he says he's here. Linden man is here. David is in class. Barbara, Brian is here. Courtney, Emerson, Maureen is here. She says she got she time change has pushed she back 4 hours. The original black man is in class. Stefan is here. Glenn, Colin, Raul, never miss a class. Never miss a class, like so many others. Rhonda, David, and I did put up a notice to remind persons that the program is from 12 o'clock Guyana time today. Pamela is here in class. Gaston, he is from Canada, he's here. David, Tilula is here. Aileen, once again in the US. Kerry from Baltimore is in class. Patricia, very much present. We have Joy in class. Ingrid is here with us. Corinne. Carl, I noted Carl is normally from Arizona this morning. He says he's in Mexico. Hope you have, if you're on vacation, hope you enjoy your vacation. Bart is here in class, ready and waiting. Francis, man from Melanie, and a few weeks ago he was in Queens. Today he is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Wayne from the UK is in class as well. Philip, Orin from the UK is here. Jakey Jakey is from where? Maryland. Then we have Lennox, Henrik, David again, Kevin. We have Brandy. When we went live, Letita was the first person when we went live on Facebook. Then we have Brandy, we have Winston, we have Hazel, and so many others. Bonita, Audrey, Steve, they're all in class. And welcome, welcome, welcome. And let me move on. Let's have a move on. First, I want to say advanced birthday greetings to former Detective Sergeant Errol Pollard, 9771. Polly celebrates a birthday tomorrow. Oh, wishing you a happy birthday, Polly, retired Detective Sergeant. Happy birthday to you, my brother. And belated birthday greetings to a friend of mine, Franklin Bobby Vera, from 104, the radio station there. Bobby celebrated his birthday yesterday. Bobby, I want to wish you a belated birthday. And we have, I know, Aileen and Gavin and all of those persons around. Cricket fans. World Cup eating up. This morning, you had that controversy with Matthews being given timed out. He was timed out. And a lot of people said, those who don't know the rules that well, said that they don't know there was such a decision, a dismissal. Yeah, you have to be ready to take the first ball within 2 to 3 minutes. And they make a lot of noise, they talk about the spirit of the game and all of that. But let me tell you this, that is going to perhaps be more used now, because remember, the bowling team is penalized when they have not been able to complete their overs in a particular period of time. So people are likely to call out if you're the batsman taking too long to get to the crease. And so Angelo Matthews went into the books this morning as being the first international batsman to be timed out. In other words, from the time the wicket fell and he came into the crease, 3 minutes elapsed and he wasn't ready to take the first ball. People explain, I listened to the explanation, his helmet, the strap on his helmet burst and all of that. But I guess you will learn now that when you come in, the thing to do is to take your guard and be ready and then maybe pull out. So the cricket pundits will look at it and a tour is going to generate a lot and lots and lots of comment. And of course, one of my favorite teams, when they're good, they're very good. And I'm referring to South Africa. They have been very good when they bat first, and they have been atrocious when they have to chase. When they have to chase against Netherlands, they lost. Yesterday, we were chasing against India, bowled out for 85. So let's see where that will go. Let's see where that will go. Now, let me move on and say, let me bring in Mr. Conway, my colleague. Let me bring him in. CC, welcome. I hope you had a very wonderful and relaxed weekend.
Yeah, good morning. I had a wonderful, relaxed weekend, and I'm happy to be in the land of the living to do God's work. And as you mentioned earlier in your opening statement, we are inspired. So let's get on with it.
Yeah, let's get it on. Let's get it on. Now, the first thing I want us to discuss, CC, or to look at first thing, is this Mahdia Commission of Inquiry. It's in the news again. Mahdia Commission of Inquiry. You recall some time ago, the Mahdia School dormitory was burned. 20 children died in that fire. One of the school children who used to be in there is charged with 20 counts of murder. God says she's the person who started the fire, resulting in the death of the 20 persons, 19 students, and I think the son of the dorm mother or the caretaker for the dorm. Now, the charges were laid, then a commission of inquiry was set up. From the inception, this program said that there were issues with the commission of inquiry. In that, when the inquiry was sworn in, we saw, let me try to bring the slide to show you. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Hold on, bear with me. Bear with me. All right, I don't have it here, but you recall at the swearing of the commission of inquiry, the Minister of Education, Priya Manikchan, was at the swearing. And we asked the question on this program, Speaking Out, why was the Minister of Education at the swearing-in ceremony of the commissioners for the Commission of Inquiry, when she was expected at that time to be a main witness in this Commission of Inquiry? Well, it was revealed over the last week there that the Commission does not intend to call the minister as a witness. So perhaps that is one of the reasons why she was there when the Commission was being sworn in. But I find that very, very strange. The minister, if you recall, commissioned a report from UNICEF. The report was presented to the minister. A lot of irregularities, a lot of issues were pointed out, including the fact that the dorm, this particular dorm, hadn't adequate firefighting and equipment and signage and all of that. And one would have expected, because the report was presented to the minister, one would have expected the minister would have been called before the Commission of Inquiry to say what she did with the report and why the issues that were identified by UNICEF, a report that she commissioned and she received, why no action was taken. But lo and behold, we heard last week that she's not going to give evidence at this commission. I know Stabrook News had two editorials covering the same issue. GHK Lal, the columnist, also had issue. And I noted too that the minister responded with a long letter again last week. And again this morning, she has written another letter. In other words, basically justifying, or, well, not necessarily justifying, saying that, talking about the regional responsibility, the responsibility of the regional administration. So she ducking out. It's not she. She turned shaggy. It wasn't me. So I said from the outset that there were questions about the credibility of this Commission of Inquiry. And how can this, whatever report is subsequently submitted, whatever recommendations are made, how can it be deemed credible when a key player, the Minister of Education, is not made to give evidence in this Commission of Inquiry? CC, help me out here, man. Try to enlighten our viewers as to how that can, how can this whatever report and how can the commission itself be deemed credible? Yeah.
Well, perhaps she behaving like Shaggy. It wasn't me, or like Michael Jackson. Billie Jean is not my girl, and Jade is not my son, or Shadow the man in the mirror is not me. The minister can't get away from that. The overall responsibility lies with the minister. And my little training in management and leadership saying that you cannot delegate your responsibility. You delegate authority to somebody and giving them the who will be responsible to you to do the work. That you don't delegate your responsibility, you delegate your authority. And I read the letter this morning where she attacking the Stablic News. And part of what you're saying, maintenance of all schools and dorms in the region is the responsibility of the regional administration, which is governed by the Ministry of Local Government. I have no problem with that. But the welfare of the students, the security of the students lies with the ministry, lies with the minister in terms the I mean the regional administration and the local government ministry, they're responsible for buildings, but the persons who occupying the buildings there, the students, where you want learning to take place, you want learning, it must be conducive to learning, and that is the responsibility of the minister and no one else. The welfare of the children is critical. And I'm shocked that the minister didn't testify there. She, as you mentioned, she had a UNICEF report which talk about the security of the place and the condition of the dormitory. And here is it, nothing was done. And we as well expected that the minister would have been there to give evidence and also to give some direction in terms of the way forward, what should happen in the future. But the minister running and ducking and hiding, and apart from the photo opportunity at the swearing ceremony, the minister is nowhere wrong in the commission. Total lack of, I can't even find the words, but she can't shed her responsibility. It is her responsibility, and it is my opinion that she should have gone to the commission and testify, give her views, and pave the way forward what will happen so that we don't have another murderous occasion like what took place there.
Well said. But not only not you said she should have gone. The commission should have summoned her to go and give evidence. The commission should have summoned the minister. You can't wait. This is a case where the minister will have to volunteer to go. The commission should have summoned the minister to go and to give evidence, especially since there is enough to say that she commissioned a report from UNICEF. A report was presented to her, and she ought to be there to give evidence as to what she did with the report. First of all, why did she commission the commission UNICEF to conduct an investigation or something like that? And once this report was presented to her, what did she do with it? She left it there to gather dust, and now everybody ducking out. Nobody wants to accept the responsibility. This is well, it is not surprising that this is a course that they are taking. But what is really worrying is that at the end of the day, whatever this commission says now, people are going to view it with a whole pinch of salt, because the credibility of the commissioners and the commission itself is now called into question. So let's see what they will say at some later stage. It's a lot of ducking. So in all that is happening now is only this one student is going to be held responsible. She didn't bar up the place. She didn't put grill in the place. She did not fail to have proper firefighting equipment and all of that. But at the end of the day, those persons who dealt with that aspect of this matter are not going to be held accountable. Sad thing indeed. It's very, very sad. But let me move on, CC. Hold on, in case you want to say anything else on that before we move on?
You're quite correct when you mentioned that she should have been summoned, because they have two persons there who didn't turn up, and the commission quite rightly summoned them, and they attended and testified at the inquiry. So yes, she should have been summoned.
Yeah, because the Commission of Inquiry get that authority. They summon you, you have to go. The Commission of Inquiry, under the Commission of Inquiry Act, if they summon you to go to give evidence and to produce evidence, you don't have any choice. You have to go. So let's see what is going to come out today. I suspect what's going to happen, you're going to hear the commission has come to an end. They're going to produce a report at some time, and that will be it. At some stage, you're going to hear that the criminal trial against this young lady is continuing, and that is what is going to happen. So nobody from government will be held accountable for all them grill and the lack of warning appliances, the lack of fire extinguisher. Nobody will be held accountable. That is how it goes. But let's move on. I think the next thing that we want to talk about, last week on this program, there was we spoke about a report or a release from the police, which says that they said 3 suspected ATM scammers were detained last week. This was published on the 29th. And it says 3 suspected ATM scammers were detained. And these people who are suspected, and what the thing I said last week, you remember? At about 12:15 a.m. today, detectives from CID headquarters arrested 3 suspected ATM scammers who were under surveillance after a report was made that they were targeting the machines of several commercial banks. The police say that detective arrested Gopal, one of them called Sandeep, 37 years old, technician of Collingen, East Coast Demerara, Tulsi Kumar Ramprashad, a 26-year-old, welder of Purika East Bank Demerara, and Ashmati Ramnarayan, 37-year-old, Superbet cashier of Collingen. They were in a black Fielder wagon PAE. They give the number driven by, at the time, by Gopal. So we were saying that it is against the protocol for you to put out all that information about suspects, people who are not charged with any offense. They're merely suspect and they're arrested. I guess you have to conduct your investigation. And to bear out what we have said, to bear out what we said last week, they get they release 2 remanded mastermind on the run. Let me read briefly what he said. An individual who is said to be the mastermind behind fraudulent attacks on ATMs in the city last weekend is on the run, whilst 2 men who were part of the operation were remanded on Wednesday following appearances at the Joshua Magistrate Court where charges of conspiracy to defraud were read to them. Now, the story here is that only two of the 3, the 2 men who were arrested and whose names were released, they were charged and they appeared in court, they are remanded. Now, the 3rd person, up to this time, has not been charged. But remember, the name was released. The name was released, and I made a note. I said, well, and this is a perfect example of why we said that you should not be releasing names of persons who are suspected to be involved in anything. Under those circumstances, as we had explained, a person might be evading arrest and all of that. You might have to then give out the wanted bulletin and say that they're wanted because you're convinced that they are evading you and you can't get them. So yeah, there are some times where you might be forced to do that. But the police have been routinely now giving out names of suspects. We talk about the Rosal murder, all the people named. And this thing now, the people are stigmatized. The reputation of this person who has not been charged is tarnished, perhaps forever. You might very well have a situation where the person can't get a job because of that. People Google see you were arrested you're referred to as an ATM scammer. You can't get a job. If you have a job, the person might lose the job. These are serious things. In addition to that, persons stigmatizing the community, community, especially the persons from the country, he's a scammer, she's a thief. And then the person might not have the means to seek legal redress. So we are saying that this air now bears out why we have been saying all along that the practice of releasing the names and other information of persons who are suspected to be involved in a crime is wrong. Once a person is charged for it, you don't have a problem with that. the person is charged. That used to be I know that there is a protocol. I know because when the protocol was done, I was a part of it. That we and this protocol that we talk about was under the auspices of the British, where we sit down and we did it over. The British, the Press Association was involved, and senior police officers, and we agreed that once a person is a suspect, we're not going to release the information, and the media people accepted that. They accepted that, but all of a sudden, a person is suspected to be involved in a crime. Of certain people, not everybody, because as I mentioned before, you have a doctor who is accused of raping a pregnant Venezuelan woman. Up to now, this is over a month ago. Up to now, his name has not been released, nor was a wanted bulletin issued for him. So this thing is very selective, very, very selective. Let me give Mr. Conway for him to have his say on this issue. See, we are vindicated in terms of what we said last week. They themselves are saying that of the 3 persons who were whose names were released, only 2 of them have been charged. Your take?
Yeah, and like you, Paul, the team where we sat down and put the protocol together. There's a result afterward. We had a training session done by British Export, which was sponsored by the British government. We had, I think it was 2 days at the Pegasus Hotel. And at the end of it, we say, hey, those persons who are suspects, you're not to release their names, you're not to release their photographs. And the thing is that, under Section 25 of the Police Act, it gives the police the power to take measurements, to take photographs, to take fingerprint impression of persons held in custody of suspects. But if they're not charged, they're not convicted, you're not to release those photographs. You're not to those fingerprint impression and the measurements. You are to either destroy them or you give them back to the persons. But lo and behold, persons are suspects, and you get the photographs all over the place. And it's not the press pick up the photographs; it's the police releasing the photographs. It's totally wrong, and the stigma attached to some persons, as you already say, you're a scammer, or you're a murder accused. You're murder accused. They didn't say you're murder suspect. A murder accused. And those things are totally wrong, and they should correct them immediately. And if you look at the charge, I don't know what kind of information evidence they have, but according to their release, in both cases at those 2 locations, the scammer or the alleged scammer spent less than a minute at the ATM, and I think the police said their fine was less than $5,000 with them. So I don't know what evidence they have, but then forget about the evidence. The thing is, you are not to release the photographs of persons who are under investigation. If the person is avoiding arrest, the police can locate it. As you mentioned with the doctor, yes, put up a wanted person publication for him. But the persons under investigation, no. It is wrong to release their photographs and other things.
Well, I don't know what purpose they think it serves, what policing purpose it serves to release that type of information. I don't know. The persons are in custody, you're doing an investigation, except perhaps they want to give the impression to the public that they are working, but that is not going to solve it, because that will cause people to come against you. That will get people riled up against the police, and people are going to stop cooperating if they're cooperating with the police. So it is something that should be discouraged. I hope the Attorney General, who talks about the amount of money police have to pay out for these wrong acts, will tell them that it is wrong for them to be releasing the names of suspects under those circumstances. Name, address. So even if there's a case where a name, several persons might have the same name, but when the address is given, the age of the person is given, so you identify that person, then the person is not charged. So the stigma remains with that person. As I've said before, it can cause a person to lose their job. It cannot cause a person not to be employed. So many things can be attached to that one thing, that one, I believe, is unlawful act by the police. This is really sad. And in the same breath, the police are calling on people to assist and to cooperate. That is not going to happen if you continue to do things like this. Because not only the person who has been victimized in this way, but their family, their relatives, their friends, all of them vexed with the police for doing something like that. And all of them are likely to then withhold the cooperation from the police. And you cannot do police work without the cooperation of the public. You cannot. Let me move on and to say, not yesterday, recently, the president apparently had a walk around in Alboystown, Queenstown area. And there were some complaints by residents of Alboystown. I say Albertown. And let me read what the release was. This, I think, was Newsroom. You know, Newsroom is one of the mouthpieces of the government. Newsroom said, and the headline is, this is on the 3rd of November, President wants police ranks out of station and involved in the community. That is what they say. It goes on to say, complaints by residents of Albertown and Queenstown on Friday prompted an immediate directive from President Afonali for police ranks to be more involved in the community and responsive to citizens' concern. During an engagement with residents of the Georgetown communities, Dr. Ali was told that ranks from the Albertown police station have not been active in their duties. Residents say they are usually sent away, redirected to Brickdown Police Station, which is the division headquarters, or told to call 911 when direct calls are placed to the Albertown Police Station. President asks, and the quoting here, what's going on? The president immediately asked the officer in charge. To that, the officer in charge responded, that's not the SOP. That's not the standard operational procedure. In turn, and under Dr. Ali asked commander to investigate and address the matter. The residents complained that robberies are committed in increasingly large numbers with little to no protection from the police. And they quote here, open quote, most of the robberies are reported and nothing comes out of the matter. When you call the station for a police to come, they say you have to call Brickdown or report it to 911, one resident stated. It was after the president ordered an independent investigation at the station level that residents decried the police's response. What we have to do, and this is the quoting the president, what we have to do is take the police out of the stations and get them and get them involved in the community, Dr. Ali told residents. He went on to say that the Guyana police force was provided with a number of bikes, and this should not be occurring. He said roving police ranks should be on the road all the time and are tasked with being responsive. He said if calls are being bounced, then there is a serious concern. And he is reported to have said, lastly, Dr. Ali asked the commander to ensure that aggressive work is done in the communities and also pitched the idea of setting up containerized outposts in key locations. See, that is what the president is reported to have said on Friday during this walkabout in Albertown and Queenstown. Let me hear your comments. I have some recommendations and some comments, but let me hear what you have to say on this issue here and based on what the president said. Go ahead.
Perhaps what is happening in Albertown is happening in other communities right across the country where police not responding, or they're telling you call another station or call somewhere else. You recall, I think it was all this year or late last year, they had a report of a robbery, firearm was used somewhere on the East Bank, and the people next day, the people went to the Providence police station, and they saw the suspects in a vehicle opposite at the gas station, and they told the police, look, the people on there on the gas station said they got called the patrol. The thing is that police sometimes they behave like what we call, or what we call, fire brigade policing. They're waiting for an event to happen, and then they rush to the scene instead of looking at escape routes and other thing. Everybody gone to the scene. But then I wish to go back. I think it was last year at the police officers conference, where at the end of it, they quoted the president as saying that safe city, that is those cameras that we have about the city and elsewhere, will replace boots on the ground. Will replace safe city, will replace boots on the ground. I'm happy that yes, there's a turnaround of things, and they're saying that the police must be on the ground. And it's critical because you must have patrols. Patrols are critical. Patrols are critical for policing. And the police mustn't be sitting on a station. They must have patrols all over the place. And part of what the patrol do is that they build in relationship with people. They walk about the place either on foot or bicycle or vehicle, or they have CID or special patrols or traffic patrols or mountain patrols or marine patrols, that they need to have patrols so that they be able to give the necessary support to members of the public. And at the same time, they're building relationship where they were able to form community policing group, station management group, traffic advisory, youth clubs, scouts. They mustn't be there at station waiting for things to happen. And they have local knowledge. They know where the drug houses are. They know where the criminals are. They know where the important persons are. So patrol is critical, and you can build containerized place for police to operate. Eh? There's a shortage of policemen in the force, and to make it worse, they raise the entry level, the education level of persons who want to join the force. So they say they up it to secondary level, so they ain't getting people for join the force. I can't remember when last I heard that a batch of recruit passed out from the police college. The thing is that the police has got to be on the ground. They got to be working together with members of the community. And I don't want to boast, but remember when Henry Green was commissioner of police, he caused me to produce a booklet entitled Hints to Patrol Duties. And I look at international best practices, particularly in Jamaica, in Barbados, and Trinidad, in terms of police patrols. I look at foot patrol, I look at bicycle patrol, vehicle patrol, static patrol, and all the various kind of patrols. And the police force adopted that hints for duty, that booklet that I produce. I have a copy. I can make it available to them, and I won't charge them, because if I charge them, if I charge them, they're gonna want to give me another charge for conspiracy to defraud. You're going to hear I didn't follow proper procedure. You're going to hear the finance officer and the approval to sign anything. And you're going to hear that the PS, who's the accounting officer, didn't sign anything. But I'm saying I have the booklet dealing with patrol that I can make available to the police free of cost. But the thing is that boots on the ground is critical. Even the president, even the president and all, he going to outreach all over the country. That is boots on the ground. And same thing with police, that you must have boots on the ground. Don't underestimate the value of a policeman in uniform in one of the streets there. A lot of criminals say, "Why I can't go commit no offense on there because they get police from the place there." That police must be on the ground, and boots on the ground is critical, and there must be more patrols, endless patrols. Part of the policing is, let me read what it said of the police. The force shall be employed, and this is section 3.2 of the Police Act, chapter 1601. The force shall be employed for the prevention and detection of crime, the preservation of law and order, the preservation of the peace, the repression of internal disturbances, the protection of property, the apprehension of offenders, and due enforcement of all laws and regulations with which it is directly charged, and shall perform such military duties within Guyana as may be required with it by or under the authority of the minister. So that is the primary role of the police. And things that they're doing, like flavoring the dance, duck curry competition, cook-up competition, um, bowling ball for the president score runs, and the bowling long up and full pitch and our volleys. And like what they had 2 weeks ago, where they work in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture, Farmers Day agriculture meeting. Those things are just primary things. They must concentrate on concentrate. Those are secondary things. They must concentrate on their primary role, what is set out in section 3.2 of the Police Act. And foremost among this is a prevention and detection of crime, especially prevention. Boots on the ground is a means of preventing crime and the fear of crime.
Boots on the ground. So this statement that boots on the ground, you get cameras and so on to replace boots on the ground. They see it now. But let me make some comments about in analyzing what took place there and the statements that were made. The officer in charge talked about the SOP. Now, the standard operation procedure. I guess he's referring to when a call is made to the police station, what should happen. You have to make sure that the ranks are taught what the standard operation procedure is. It's not good to just say, oh, that is not the SOP. What is the SOP? What should they do? Are they taught what action should be taken when a phone call comes in to say, well, look, this is going on? Do they do that? There have had several reports over the years of policemen saying, oh, we ain't got a vehicle, we can't come now. People are going to the station, are asked, so you got to get transportation. Those things should be dealt with condignly when action like that is taken. And it has to do with a topic I intend to discuss very soon, is the discipline. There is a breakdown because when these things happen, ranks are not held responsible, people are not held accountable. And therefore, it continues a lot of statements, a lot of platitudes, because, oh, we're going to do this, the extended squatting and make all sorts of nice and so on. But at the end of the day, unless action is taken against those persons who continue to bring the organization down like that, it will continue. It will continue. Because we mentioned here too some time ago, there is what we call in transit report. Police ought not to be telling anyone, well, this, when a person goes to a station to make a report, well, this is not the district for that. You have to go to this station or you have to go to that station. It's rubbish. You are supposed to be able to make a report of a crime or an offense at any police station, regardless of where it was committed. And there is a SOP as to how it is dealt with, what we call in transit report. So you take the report, you might even have to take statements and all of that, and you, knowing full well which is the correct station district, then you send it on for follow-up action to be taken. But you hear police still telling people, oh, go to breakdown or call 911. That is nonsense. That is nonsense. Because as I know it, I don't know if it's still there, you're supposed to have, if it's in the night, you're going to have people with duty officers, someone. If you don't know what to do, call and get directions as to how the matter should be handled. But to be telling callers to call people complaining of a crime, to tell them, oh, you have to call breakdown, or oh, you have to call 911. And those things should be investigated, and the ranks involved should be dealt with. Because I suspect that many of the ranks, even though that was mentioned here, will be doing the correct thing. Many of the ranks, when they receive those reports, will do the correct thing. So those who are not doing the correct thing should be identified and should be dealt with. The next thing, apart from this SOP, President talking in this time, he said the police were provided with a number of bikes. Are you suggesting then that when a report is made of a crime in the dead of the night, police must jump on the bike? Because remember, when you're talking about bike, you're not talking about one rank. Even if it's a vehicular patrol, it's not one. You got to be a minimum on a bike of 2. And if it's a vehicle patrol, it has to be a minimum of 3, the driver and 2, minimum of. So to make these statements like that, I hope that the people who have to do the follow-up will highlight these things. Highlight. Bicycle patrol, yeah, but one of the things that they have not been doing in an area like Alberton and Queenstown, it requires beat duty. People must be on their foot. Police must be on their foot to patrol those areas, to interact with persons in the area. They must be on foot. Vehicle patrol is good, but let me tell you this, vehicle patrol in particular to respond, because people see a vehicle coming, the duck in an alleyway, the vehicle pass, you continue. When policemen are on foot, it can be even more effective. Well equipped, of course, armed and with radio and all of that. So we got to understand, we got to revisit that, we got to look at this thing properly. Don't just make these statements. And the unfortunate thing is that when these statements are made, the people like the extended squad are going to jump and say, do this, do that, without carefully analyzing what should be the correct response. You got to carefully analyze what is the correct response. Then you get, for example, Christmas is coming up. Very soon you're going to hear going into the Christmas policing mode, right? We're going to have people all over the place stand up. Yeah, that might have been good years ago. Have they analyzed to see if how effective that has been over the in recent years? As a matter of fact, I think up to now, if you go to some places, you will see the booths that were put up for last Christmas policing activities. So the booths are still there. Up to now, booths are still there. And I remember as a commander, Christmas policing, we had mandated that when 2 ranks are at this booth, unless rain is falling, the 2 of them must not be sitting inside, because what happens, they go there and they sit in the booth all the time and they're not effective. So these things have to be carefully analyzed. The next thing they say, the thing here, to get involved in the community. The president said to get involved in the community. And I made a note here to explain community-oriented policing, COPS, what we call community policing. And the community-oriented policing is not this thing that we have in Guyana, where you get community policing, people armed with shotgun and patrolling. That is not it. The community-oriented policing is a concept which says that the police at the various levels must interact and form a partnership with the community. The same area you talk about there, Alberton, Queenstown. How many interactions have the persons in charge, the person in charge of the station or the person in charge of the subdivision would have had with the community? And that is what you need to have. At the station level, the man in charge of the station should be able to have frequent interactions with business people, the officer likewise, with residents, so that you get a feel as to what is going on in your community. I'm sure that if you do a survey now, those people in charge of those stations, including the subdivision officer, have not had any meaningful interaction with members of the community. That area has a lot of businesses and so on. Ask when last the officer went to a business place. Ask when last the sergeant in charge of the station went to find out if everything is okay. That is what the community-oriented policing is all about. You interact. You're going to be told what are the problems in the community, and then you can get together with members of the community to seek to address the problems. But again, just to say go out and patrol and to ride bicycle and so on, that is not going to solve the problem. And one of the key things I have to mention here is the fact that you have the organization whose members are inadequately trained and equipped. Don't let me get away from that. Somebody made a point here about cameras, body cameras and all this stuff. Yeah, all of those things by now should have been there. But I have said a long time ago, it makes no sense having body cameras when you don't have proper SOPs and when the procedure to deal with people who are not abiding with those SOPs are not in place. So it's got to be an holistic approach to this whole thing. So you have people ill-equipped, not properly trained. There's no doubt about that the people are not, ranks are not properly trained and they're thrown out there. That is a problem. And then the next point, you have people, you have a demoralized force. They could jump high and jump low. People in the force are demoralized. Because of what? Several things. Political interference is one. People know that they're there, they're given instructions, they got to carry it out. Whether they believe it to be true or not, unfortunately, many of them don't have the testicular fortitude to say in a very polite and professional way that that cannot happen, sir or madam. But once you're told to do something, they jump and do it. Arrest this man, give this man a trump-up charge, and therefore the force is demoralized. There is no question in my mind that contributes to some of the problems that have been identified. And then you have to, apart of demoralization, so frequently we see policemen being beaten on duty, policemen in uniform, directing traffic, doing anything. They are beaten by a civilian. And what happens? We have the one on the East Coast where a man beat up the police, and you don't hear nothing about that. That seems to have been finished. And so many other instances where policemen and women are brutalized when they're on duty. You don't hear the extended squatters saying anything. You don't hear the police association making any statement. The Minister of Home Affairs infrequently. I wanted to still have one because I don't hear about ropes men anymore. They don't. And therefore, ranks feel that they are left on their own. So all of those things contribute. Of course, when we talk about the salaries, security guard in some places getting more money than a police. At the last, I think it was at the end last year, when they announced the salary increase, the police constable moved to, I think, $104,000 a month. The same week, a private security company in Georgetown was advertising for guards, and they started at 120-something thousand. Same week. So that is a factor as well. Low remuneration, allowances, problems. Research, again, education allowance, $2 something cents or something. I don't know what it has gone up to now, but those are some of the problems I would hope that the president will address and look into, right? And then, as we're saying, in many instances, many instances, the ranks are poorly led. The ranks are poorly led. And leadership means a lot. Leadership means a lot. And somebody is saying, hey, court, foot patrols. Court is saying that even the U.S., don't say U.S., even New York and those places, foot patrol is an integral part of policing. Beat, what we call beat duty. You're there, you walk the beat, you see what's going on, you know all the places in the area. And not so long ago, that used to be the thing. Because one will recall, I think it was in the 80s and so on, you had a beat duty center, 2 centers, as a matter of fact. One was in Brickdam and one was in Water Street. Because the authorities, the persons there at the time, saw the need for beat duty. People must be policemen on foot. People must be on foot. Patrols are good to respond quickly. Bicycles, motorcycles might be good to respond and patrol, but you cannot replace boots on the ground, policemen on beat duty. And not only at Christmas time, everybody get the beat. You know, long ago, people don't like it when you talk about this thing, but it is true. When you were given a beat, assign the beat to patrol. If anything went wrong in that beat, if there was a breakage or anything during your tour of duty, you had to answer. You were made to answer. There was what we call accountability. But those things gone through now. And I'm saying that this Albert Tong thing that that came out on Friday, part of the problem, apart from people not being properly trained, people not being held accountable and responsible, is the fact that the morale in the force is at rock bottom. They might want to deny that, but that is the fact, rock bottom. A lot of people just go to work and decide to do the barest minimum and wait for your hours done, and you're gone home. You see a crime up the road, you turn and you go someplace else. I don't want to get involved. Because what's going to happen? Even if it's a traffic patrol, you stop a vehicle, the vehicle might belong to somebody who knows somebody, and you, the police rank, will get trouble. So therefore, what you think is going to happen? And the word, them type of word is spread, you know. Why I stopped this man? Because this man had on the side, the man had siren, he had flashing light. And the officer called me and berated me, bucked me up, and so on. So, you know, after now, when I go out there, I ain't doing nothing. Let the people do what they want to do. That is what is happening. That is what is happening. So this thing had to be addressed in a very comprehensive manner. I have always said, and people who work with me know, a rank on the road, and he makes a decision, to arrest or not to arrest. I ain't getting involved unless the person acted inappropriately. People know me know. I mean, the amphibians and all them gonna come and they're gonna say all kind of thing. Like one man said over the weekend, I should have told you, CC, and one of the comments, a man said that the two of us only talking now because they kicked me out of the force. A man said, yeah, you get kicked out of the police force, so only now we talking. So you're gonna have those people gonna come. But I ask that the people analyze the issue. The fact that people at a station, and as my colleague said earlier, it is not restricted to Alberton Police Station. And the fact that people at the station will act in that manner, you got to investigate to find out why. Why? Why? Somebody said maybe they're afraid, and afraid of what? Maybe they're afraid of being injured. Maybe they're afraid of the very system, how they are going to be dealt with. So you got to analyze it. You have to analyze it. And as I've said, a big issue has to do with discipline. The disciplinary procedure in the Guyana Police Force has broken down. I challenge anyone to dispute that. I challenge anyone to dispute. It has broken down. So when ranks commit acts and so on, nothing happens. And even when they decide to take action, they don't know what is the correct procedure and all of that. So you have a situation. This too leads to demoralization, where ranks are cowboy. They get cowboy. They come, you find them, some of them people getting dismissed without any justification. It demoralizes the force. It demoralizes the force. The extended squatter just dismissing people like that. So this thing about presumption of innocence, it no longer exists in certain cases. You have ranks, constables being dismissed. No trial, nothing, they just dismissed arbitrarily. It affects those who remain in the system. So they have to make sure that these things are properly addressed. Let me bring in Mr. Conway to say if you want to say anything more on this subject. Mr. CC.
Yeah, Paul, you said a whole lot, and I endorse the statements you made. But this whole thing, if I may summarize it, is about behavior. Yeah? And I'm talking about behavior from top to bottom, from the squatter, the extended squatter, right down to the last giant constable, that they need to address behavior. And I said over and over again that they should have a behavioral science unit in the Guyana Police Force to address behavior. And it boils down to training too. It boils down to ranks going out on duty, no briefing, and no debriefing, They don't brief them, they don't really debrief them. And we used to have once a week where you call an instruction class or our ranks where you deal with certain aspect of the police standing order and current issues. So the whole thing needs a revamping part. And we can talk all day about what is going on. And as I said in my opening statement, what happened at Alberton is happening countrywide, all over the place. Just go and ask. And you're going to hear police can't go nowhere, that the police are motorized. They don't have no vehicle, so they can't go anywhere, as the case may be. And we're saying boots on the ground is critical, but they got to be properly supervised and properly dealt with.
Must be properly supervised and must be properly dealt with. Now let me move on. A quick one here. For the longest while, we have not dealt with the out of control traffic situation. And we're not going to deal with it in really great detail today. I remember the last time we spoke about it is when they released the figure to say that there were 171 fatal accidents and incidents. We're going to get back to that another time. But what I want to mention here now, as we said repeatedly, that the traffic situation requires all to be involved, all. The police, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Infrastructure, whatever the call works, the courts. We got to get involved. This thing is so out of control that all the relevant agencies have to get involved. Somehow people believe that enforcement alone is going to solve the problem. I say it will not. You could lock up as many persons, you could charge as many persons as you want to charge. That is not going to solve the problem. The problem is a deep-rooted problem. Corruption is part of it. Got to be addressed. But what caught my attention and what I want to talk about briefly this morning is that you had a situation where it was reported, I think it was last week, that a man was struck and killed, a cyclist was struck and killed across the river, as we would say. I read to my amazement and astonishment, that the driver who was involved in this accident was charged. At the time, he was checked and he was above the legal limit in terms of alcohol. So he was charged for being above the legal limit. I don't think he's charged for the causing death. I don't know if they don't have the evidence of that, but he's charged for driving the drunk, for breaking down. The man appeared in court last week, pleaded guilty to drunk driving, and was fined 50,000 Guyana dollars. Let me repeat that. A man who struck and killed a cyclist. We don't know the circumstances. Maybe he wasn't wrong in that. But he's not charged with causing death up to the time when I last checked. But he is above the legal limit. He is charged with drunk driving. He pleads guilty and he is fined $50,000. I want you all to understand what is going on. That is why I'm saying all the agencies have to get involved. I don't know if he had extenuating circumstances, but I doubt whether that can be a mitigating factor. A man is there, that you're above the legal limit. One would expect they're going to throw the book. You plead guilty, so you're admitting to the offense. One expect that they're going to throw the full book at you, but I don't know. And as I'm saying, these are some of the things that these people jump around will have to address. Let me bring in CC for make a comment on that one. CC, any comment on this $50,000 fine for drunk driving where a person died?
I read it, and I was shocked. $50,000. A man pleaded guilty. Person died in the accident. Well, the person, he has not been charged yet, or I don't know whether or not he will be charged, but it's shocking. And as you rightly mentioned, we all gotta be involved. The police, the magistrates, members of the public, everybody gotta be involved. It gotta be a holistic approach. Otherwise, the situation is going to get worse.
Other than that, it's going to get worse. It's going to get, one shudder to think what worse is in this context. Now, the next thing I noted too, that we have a new American ambassador. I think last week she had a reception, and I want to take this opportunity on behalf of Speaking Out to welcome the new ambassador to Guyana. Welcome. But at the function, the ambassador is reported to have said, she made a statement to say, and I'm quoting, according to what the news is saying, I'm here to reaffirm the U.S. government's commitment to our shared democratic values, including transparency, fairness, inclusion, equity. The shared democratic values that the new U.S. ambassador refers to are, they say, transparency, including transparency, fairness, inclusion, equity. Madam, let me say this to you with all due respect. Those are foreign concepts in Guyana. Transparency, fairness, inclusion, and equity, they are foreign concepts. In Guyana, I have said repeatedly that when you talk about the rule of law, you have to define it in a Guyanese context. Because the rule of law in other countries governed by the rule of law is not the same in Guyana. So when we talk about transparency, fairness, inclusion, and equity, you might very well discover that what you understand those concepts to be are alien to people, especially the government of Ghana. So I wish you well, madam. I wish you a successful tenure. I did post something on social media, but again, I say those concepts you might find are non-existent, or they have a different definition for them. So let me bring Cici. I'm sure you'd want to welcome the new ambassador as well.
Yeah, I wish to welcome her, but I don't want to be diplomatic. All I would say that perhaps she was not properly briefed.
Perhaps she was not properly briefed because, well, even if she was not properly briefed, I suspect very soon she will come to understand that those words are all alien, or at least they get a different meaning to what our interpretation is, right? At least is alien. Somebody want me to keep you on the screen, CC. So as one say, can you please do split screen and keep Mr. Conway on the screen? So someone of your fun want you to be kept on the screen, but we don't keep each other on the screen all the time. So let me move on. Let me move on to the next subject. And this next subject that we have to talk about here is the Venezuelan issue. You know, you can't do a program now without the Venezuelan thing coming up. And I want to say that they have had, well, right now, according to the information, they should have had, what time is it now? Just after 1 o'clock Guyana time. This morning at 10 o'clock, there was to be the extraordinary sitting of the National Assembly to deal with the motion on this Venezuelan issue, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. Now, also, right, we have the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, is to meet on the 14th of November. You know, Guyana complained to the International Court and asked for some interim relief dealing specifically with the saber rattling by Venezuela and their announced decision to have a referendum on the 3rd of December. And one of the questions that been asked of the Venezuelans is if they should not annex Essequibo. In other words, make Essequibo a state of Venezuela. Well, Guyana moved to the International Court because I know this matter is there. The court has held that they have jurisdiction to hear the matter. So they have asked, they went to the court, and the court has decided that on the 14th of this month, they are going to hear this complaint by Guyana. Now, the next thing, this afternoon, at the timing at 16:45, let me put it up, there is a symposium at the Pegasus Hotel to deal with this matter. I looked at it. I don't know if you can make it out there, but I will encourage all and sundry. There is a virtual part of this to make sure that you listen to what is going on. When you look at a panel, there is a high power panel there to discuss many issues relating to this border controversy. And I would invite, invite all of you to listen in. It's at the bottom there. I mean, I don't know if you can make it out, but if you can't, I think they're saying that well, I don't have it here either. But if you look carefully, let me try to enlarge this to see if we can make it out properly. It says that the event will also be streamed live. Webinar IDs 985-0822-5378 or on Facebook at www.facebook.com/UGPACEALUMNI. And you would note that the last 4 letters there are in lowercase. I suspect it is case sensitive. So I will encourage, because as we have been saying, this thing requires education. The Guyanese public has to be informed what this whole issue is all about. So I want to congratulate the University of Guyana in putting together this. And some of the speakers, let me tell you, as they have here, Dr. Nigel Gravesandi, who is the Registrar of the University of Guyana, and he's also a historian. We have Dr. Carl Greenidge, former Vice President and Minister of Foreign Affairs, and he's currently Government of Guyana agent to the International Court of Justice and advisor on border matters. And then you have Attorney at Law Ralph Ramkaran, Senior Counsel. He's the former Speaker of the House and Guyana facilitator to the United Nations Good Officer process under the Geneva Agreement relating to the Guyana-Venezuela border matter. So you should have a wealth of knowledge. Then we have Dr. Barton. They say Bartland, but I remember his name is B-A-R-T-O-N, Barton Scotland. Attorney at Law, former Speaker of the House, and member of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Advisory Committee on Guyana border issues. You also have Dr. Corinne Jacobs, International Relations and Migration Specialist. And then we have Dr. Carol Lord. She's a psychologist, University of Guyana Faculty of Education Humanities and Center for Behavioral Science and Research at the University of Guyana. So I'm saying that it is a high power panel, and you should make sure you follow. you make sure I intend to make sure that I have the time to follow what is going on and to be educated or to be further educated on this issue. That is an important part of it. So Cici, I know you're going to be following it as well. I know you're going to be following it.
Yeah, I must follow it because there's some of the things we've been asking for. We've been asking for education and a whole lot of issues. So I'll be following it.
Yeah, and then as we go, time really flies. We are almost into our 15 minutes. We have another issue or other issues to deal with this Venezuelan controversy. And we have here, the statement by the second vice president. Well, first of all, he said, let me go before I go to the actual issue. He made a statement, if you recall, that the placing of the word policia on police vehicles was misguided. It's a short tape, so we play it quickly. What he said.
So let me explain to you. It's it's misguided. The police should have never put policia there. What? They should have, it's misguided. They should have never. It's not the emblem. It's not the emblem, it's just the name. It's still our emblem, the Guyana Police Force, but they put policia in Spanish. They were instructed to change that. They were instructed to change that. They must put police. They can put in small letters, policia, and in Portuguese, in Spanish, etc., because the people who are here need to know what our police are, so they don't get, when the police put on the siren, they get away. But our main thing is, anywhere you go to the...
America, yeah. You know how many countries in America?
So let me explain to you. It's not, it's misguided. The police...
Yeah, what we saw there is the policia or policia being removed from the vehicle. But people have commented a lot on the statement they made by the second vice president about the need to have small letters, and the fact that he's saying he travel around and he see this type of language and so on. And people said it's rubbish. And I say that what you need is this is an English-speaking country, police. And to suggest that you have to have it in small letters for other people to recognize a police vehicle, I don't think that makes sense. I don't think that is making sense, right? So it is good to see that the word policia is being removed from the police vehicles. And I asked the question, or we asked the question, what was the cost of placing those signs on the police vehicle? What was the cost? So is money gone down the drain? And the police had issued a statement to say it was part of the 2022-2025 strategic plan. So what happened to that portion of the plan? Which is not true. I saw the plan. Nothing about that is mentioned. But it's just a little dancing, a lot of lying to be undiplomatic. A lot of lying. So the signs are being removed. I hope that this small letter that we're talking about never gets onto the police vehicle. So some progress there. And as we've said, we call on this thing, we call for this repeatedly. And somebody said in the comment, obviously they are listening and they are taking action. Let me bring in CC to have his quick word on that before we move on to the other part of that this Venezuelan issue. CC?
I don't know who misguided who, whether it's the president, whether it's the second vice president, whether it's the Minister of Affairs, whether it's the extended squatter. And I don't know what we're talking about emblem. And, small letters, sometimes they say the small letters or the fine writings that you didn't read, this cause the problem. And you mentioned about the cost. Did they follow tenderboard procedure, or did they went single sourcing? Was it approved by the PS, who is the accounting officer, Guyana Police Force, or the police finance officer? And then I remember you reading years ago, where they say, who calls off the dogs on them? Who calls of the dogs own them.
Right, who call off the dog? Because if the dog is you dog, who call off the dog, own the dog. But let me say this. The next issue has to do with a release. It is said that at the last press conference last Thursday, the second vice president had the thing here, the moral way of saying migrants from Venezuela who are eligible should be allowed to vote in elections. And the quote, that is a quote from the second vice president, Barajagdio. And it says here, General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, Barajagdio, on Thursday, indicated that Guyanese who have returned from Venezuela and their offspring, who have all come here to flee the crisis in that country, should be allowed to vote in general elections. And then the quote here saying, the reality is they are here now. And so, based on our constitution and the laws of our country, they are eligible for citizenship. They have been living here. If they choose to register and vote, they have rights just like other citizens. These are Guyanese. If they vote, should we say to them, don't vote PPP? He asks, Demerara waves. And then let me say this. Eligible, they said those who are eligible. And the first question that I would want to ask is what or how eligibility is determined. How is eligibility determined? Because remember, you're not talking about Guyanese, you said about the offspring. So in other words, you're saying that Guyanese, the offspring might be a voting age, I guess, 20, 30, whatever age it is, they come. And the worrying part about this, yes, while the Constitution says that if you're the offspring of a Guyanese, you have to go through a process to get citizenship. I would want to remind you that one of the first things this government did when they came into office in 2020 was to change the Registration of Births and Deaths Act. They amended this act. Let me find it quickly. Hold on, yeah, I have it here. The Registration of Births and Deaths Act was changed early in the game. As a matter of fact, I can tell you, according to the records, the president signed this into law on the 9th of August 2021. So the government came into power on the 2nd of August 2020. And by the 9th of August 2021, the Registration of Births and Deaths Act, Amendment Act, was signed into law. And let me tell you what Section 34 says. It says a parent may choose any surname for the child. Significant, a parent may choose any surname for the child. What happened before then? We may recall that if you were born out of wedlock, I mean if your mother and your father were married, and your father at the time of the registration of the board did not sign for you, you have to go with your mother's surname. Understand it clearly. You have to go with your mother's surname. So what happens now with this change in this law? Whatever name the mother decide, well, you got to go by Conway, or your mother, even though they might not have been married at the time, you got to go by Slow. You have to go by whatever. That goes. That is the law now. So I guess a lot of men will have to make sure they get proper DNA testing just to make sure that the names are correctly there. So that's one other thing. The other part, Section 44A, and let me read Section 44A to us to understand, because this thing with the Vice President talking about eligibility, the wicket, as we say, the thing was set since 2021. Because what it is saying, where an adult requires a certificate of birth and there is no original document containing the particulars of his birth, or there is no record of his birth, the Registrar General shall issue a certificate of birth on the basis of any of the following documents containing particulars touching on his birth. A declaration in Form 3A or to the like effect, signed by a person of high standing in the community, including a community leader or a Teshao. Let me explain a Teshao for those who don't know, is one of these indigenous leaders in this community, a Teshao, a chief like in the community. So they're saying that if you don't have any document of your birth, right, you fill out a declaration in Form 3A. My understanding is that Form 3A is something like an application for a passport form or something similar to that. You fill out, and a person of high standing in the community. What is high standing in the community? Including a community leader or a Tushau can sign and say, well, you is this person. It goes on to say, and before I go there, it means therefore that when a Venezuelan or person born in Venezuela and has Guyanese parentage comes across, all they got to do is go to this, follow this farm, come to a person of high standing in the community, including a community leader. I don't know who is a community leader, or a Tushau. Well, we know the Tushau because it's the process, and they can sign, and that's it. On the basis of that, the Registrar General can issue you a board certificate. And by now, we have to know a board certificate is a primary document. Once you get a board certificate, you can register and get ID card, you can get passport and all that. Primary document. And B, say a declaration made under the Statutory Declaration Act by a person of high standing in the community, including a community leader or Tushau, signed by a Justice of Peace or Commissioner of Oaths, stating that the particulars of birth of the person or any other document with information indicating particulars of the birth notarized by a notary public, including a certificate of baptism or information in the marriage register. Let me break it down. It simply means that if you have a Guyanese father or mother migrated to Venezuela, let me say 20, 30 years ago, you are now coming back to Guyana. You're born in Venezuela, of Guyanese parentage, either your mother or your father. You come back, you know. You could go through this process and get a Guyanese board certificate. Understand this, you know. Somebody of high standing can sign this form. A Tushau, a JP, they can sign to say that you are who you claim to be. And on the basis of that, the law says that the person in charge of registration or the GRO can issue you with a board certificate. So when the vice president now talking about people coming back, the Guyanese, you know, probably the Guyanese come back and they want to vote, and they want to register to vote is something. The issue is the offspring who was born in Venezuela. And who determines the offspring? The people just got to come and say, well, I is this body. This is my son. This is my daughter. And based on that, you fill out the form and the people sign. And they talk about JP. I wonder how many JPs they would have sworn in the last year or two in these regions. How many JPs? And I wonder how many persons have utilized this provision of the amended law to get board certificate. These are questions that should be asked. And then you're going to see what this overall picture is. Because I am saying that based on the utterances of the second vice president, it appears that this Venezuelan issue is all they're concerned about. All they see would be vote. All they see is that these people can come and they can vote. Let me bring in CC for him to obviously in this matter. My brother, please.
The bottom line, Paul, is that elections that get the people, make sure they get a board certificates and register, and they'll be able to vote. Treat them good, and if you treat me good, pay back time and election time come, I'll vote for you. I mean, if it's a Guyanese, I want them people who say they're born in Venezuela, and then a JP, and I hear a certain JP signing forms like you hear them good. Left, right, and center, a certain JP, I ain't calling any name, signing forms under the new arrangement, like you hear them good. So the thing is about votes, There's about votes.
But it's a worrying thing. It's very, very worrying because in the same press release, the vice president is quoted as saying here, let me read the last part. He says here, the vice president at the same time said government was cautious that there could be Venezuelan state actors who could be infiltrating the country. There could be. I am sure that there are many, many, many of those. I am sure there are many of those, we call them the Trojan horses, who are here infiltrating and all over the place these Venezuelans are. And I said, made it clear, I have nothing, I'm not xenophobic, I have nothing against migrant people coming to Guyana. But I'm saying that there should be a legal process, a proper process. And this amended registration of births and death law is questionable. It's questionable. So you said a man born in Venezuela, because he is born of Guyanese parentage, he can come and get Guyanese birth certificate. He wasn't born in Guyana. He wasn't born, but the law says, this amended law, and noted, since 2021, this started to move through the process less than a year after the government came into power. In less than a year, they started, as we would say, they started to set up the wicket, change the Registration of Births and Deaths Act, and then now the Vice President can make statement, oh, they are eligible to vote. That is what it's all about. It is about vote all the time, nothing else. Because this crisis with Venezuela and the large influx or inflow of they say migrants, some of them are Guyanese coming back home, but a lot of them are refugees coming into Guyana. It has gotten out of control, and perhaps the government sees the upside in terms of getting people to vote, because there's a video circulating where a Venezuelan, a person appears to be Venezuelan national, is praising the PPP. Imagine that, a Venezuelan national who might very well be here illegally. And we understand it was set up by the very person praising the PPP and denigrating the APNU. That is how far we have gone with this thing. All we can see, forget about sovereignty, forget about territorial integrity. All some people seeing is that bring the Venezuelans and they're going to be voting at the next election. Carry them through the process, because they will argue it's legal, The amendment of the Registration of Births Act, let's make it legal. So they might be right to say that it is legal. But as we have said, these JPs and these people of standing in the community to sign a form and say, well, this man is of Guyanese parentage, it's trouble. You're looking for a lot of forgeries, a lot of falsification will take place. And the people get the birth certificate, and the vice president, the second vice president said, if they want to register, they're getting the birth certificate to register, to be put on the roll, to register and to vote. That is what this thing is all about. Let me bring in CC to give his closing remarks.
Yeah, and then I saw the clip, and then when you're looking at it seriously, the actions of the second vice president with bordering around treason. Cause here it is, he holding secret meetings, according to what we see coming out of the news, with Venezuelans at a convention center. According to what the man saying, I wasn't there. According to what the man saying, that he held meeting with Jagdeo, and he praised the PPP, and he kind of, to use commentary about attack the APNU, how Jagdeo could be going about and holding secret meetings with these Venezuelans. Huh? It's mind-boggling. And then let me jump off and bring up a short one where we had a report in the press that Supernumerary constable from one of those private security saw a man in a bar with a firearm, sees it, I think at 9 a.m. It was later discovered that the licensed owner of that weapon, he was drinking, according to the reports, and he gave the guy to hold it. So it's a seize, legislation. Understand they arrested the licensed owner. But then I don't know if anything would happen, because first, two things happened there: that the civilian should be charged with unlawful possession of arms and ammunition, and the police should forthwith write the firearm owner and ask him to state reasons why the license shouldn't be revoked, and they don't have to send that report to DPP. The DPP has nothing to do with that, or ask OPR to investigate. Very clear-cut case. And if the man feels that the police action is wrong, he can apply to the president for a review. So here's it. A man drinking, give another money firearm to hold. Police, security sees it, reported to the police. Police there take action, but I don't know whether any action be taken against the licensed firearm. Because I know when I go to headquarters and you crack a few knuckles, the hands will open and will open over table, and that will be the end of it.
That will be the end of it. So let me hope, as you rightly pointed out, a matter like that. The firearm is seized and lodged at the station, and you can't revoke the license just like that. You have to, they call due process. So as a commander, I would write to the firearm owner for him to show cause why the license should not be revoked, right? You point out whether intemperate habits and the fact that it was found in the possession of someone else, and you allow him to as long as he wants, to respond. And when he responds, then based on what he says, you will take that into consideration and you will then revoke. When I left the force in 2010, I had prepared something dealing with that, because I had a situation in Barbies where I got bad advice from the Director of Public Prosecutions and revoked the firearm of a person. Man had 2 firearms. One was lost. The other one was lodged in the station at the time. And I was advised to revoke both licenses, which I did. And the man went to the High Court, and the court ruled that it was wrong to revoke the license that was lodged at the station. I learned from them. And I was able, with the assistance of a certain legal person, put together a guideline, which I shared with my colleagues at the time. And we used to do that. So that that was in Barbies, when I came to Georgetown, I knew the system very, very well, and I used to share it with my colleagues. You write to the person for them to show cause. You can outline why. That on such and such a date, your license firearm number so was found in possession of so. They claim that you gave it to them and so on. In the circumstances, you are required to show cause why that should not be revoked. That's the type of wording it goes through. And as CC rightly pointed out, the DPP has nothing to do with that. Even the unlawful possession charge against the person in whose possession the firearm was found, once it's satisfied, well, even if he has a license, he doesn't have a license for that particular firearm, and therefore you charge and you go to court. So let's hope they're going to do it. But you know what happens now? As you say, it all depends on who this person is. Man got a 9mm pistol, he got a drink liquor, he gave it to someone who's not licensed. How more irresponsible can you get? A 9mm pistol. Luckily, the Superior Constable, kudos to him, saw it, reported to the police, and it has licked down the police. But the police took action in this matter. So that is why I continue to say many times the police are taking the correct action. They don't get praised for it. But when they do the wrong thing, everybody come down on them like a ton of bricks, right? Perhaps it's some justification in some cases. But we must also highlight the good that the police do from time to time. We must also highlight that. Folks, it's an hour and a half fly out just like that. To say to you that we have been continuing our demonstration in front of the Venezuelan embassy. We have been doing it on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 o'clock in the morning. Tomorrow, Tuesday, the 7th day of November, we are going to be there again, and we're inviting all who want to come. It was encouraging last Thursday to see some additional persons turn up to lend support. People pass, people stop, and to find out what it is all about. We are going to be there again tomorrow at 10 o'clock to continue our protest against this craziness that Venezuela is going on with. As I said, I am pleased to see that they had this sitting. We don't know. I've been checking social media to see what transpired in the National Assembly today. We didn't hear nothing. We were calling. We said that on occasions such as this morning, there should have been mobilization, mass support for people to show the type of support that we have for the government and the opposition in the course of action that they have, the course they have chosen in this particular matter. So we're going to be there tomorrow. We're going to be there at 10 o'clock tomorrow. You're free to join. We have placards. If you want to bring it, make your placard and bring. We have a few that we always work with. Because this thing has to be continued. The symposium this afternoon, wonderful initiative. Other activities, and we hope this is not a one-off, but we must also have other similar activities where we are moving to educate the Guyanese public on this whole border controversy with Venezuela. Because they are doing their propaganda, and imagine Venezuela is actually claiming we are the aggressors in this matter. And we are doing everything according to the law. The 1899 Arbitral Award, the Geneva Agreement, we have done everything. We put the matter to the United Nations Secretary General. He has brought in the International Court of Justice, and that is where the matter lies. But all of a sudden now, Venezuela don't want to abide by that process. They want bilateral talk. So what? For what? As a matter of fact, if they were to have a bilateral talk, I'm going to advise the president to dress up with the Halloween costume and freaking out. So, folks, I want to end to say again, stay safe. The next program is likely to be on Wednesday, the regular Wednesday program. I got certain things I had to play before we go off, and I will do so now. So bear with me a little. We call for the president to address the nation on this issue. He has not done so as yet. And again, let me play. I want to play how the matter was dealt with back in 1966. The address to the nation.
At one point of Guyana's western border with Venezuela, the Renamo River flows into the Cuyuni River, and there is an island at this junction called Ankoko Island of about 2 to 3 square miles. According to the map in existence since 1904, the border runs roughly through the center of Ankoko Island from north to south, so that the western part of the island is Venezuelan and the eastern Guyanese. For some time, in fact during last month, a number of Venezuelans were crossing onto the Guyanese side and have since then been carrying out certain works on our territory. The report of this came to the notice of the government a few days ago only, and an inspection party consisting of senior officials and 2 senior police officers visited the island the day before yesterday, Wednesday the 12th of October. This party verified and confirmed the earlier report received through unofficial channels. In the opinion of the government, this intrusion by Venezuelans constitutes a breach of the Geneva Agreement entered into between the governments of the United Kingdom and Venezuela on the 17th of February 1966, to which agreement the government of Guyana is now a party. And today I have sent a cable to Dr. Iribarren Borges, the Foreign Minister of Venezuela, strongly protesting the intrusion of Venezuelan personnel onto Guyanese territory and asking that immediate steps be taken by the government of Venezuela to ensure the immediate withdrawal of all such personnel. I have this morning informed the leader of the opposition of the situation and held discussions with him. Meanwhile, I await a reply from the Venezuelan government. I consider it my duty to inform the nation of this latest development and to assure you that every step is being taken to retain our territorial sovereignty by peaceful means. Your government proposes to abide by the terms of the Geneva Agreement and is hopeful that the government of Venezuela will do likewise. You are asked to remain calm and to await further information. Long live Guyana.
And I got to play this as well.
God, one for us, not a blade